Hey guys, how you doing? Another one of my little chats, this time about success and in particular, obviously, how to get better at Jiu-Jitsu. And I spend an exorbitant amount of time every day learning more about the human brain, how we work, and studying successful people, etc. I have a system of grading at my academies that might be a little different than most. I award stripes leading up to each belt based on time rather than ability, and the reason for that has been further, I guess, exonerated by my studies this week, and it's because time on the mat equals success. Yeah, and if it's not, then it's up to you to get your ass together and do the work, right? So if you're slacking off during class, if you're not paying attention, if you're not trying to do some external study, then it'll show. So for example, on the way to blue belt, a lot of people will divide the 4 stripes equally throughout the 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is. But I think the reality is that, God, here I am again coughing. Probably because I'm doing the video in the morning again. So I think the greatest improvement that you see in almost any jiu-jitsu student is like in the first 25 classes. If you look back at who they were when they walked through the door versus who they are after 25 classes, they're almost unrecognizable. So I award their first stripe after 25 classes because there's been an enormous improvement. Yeah. I award the next one for adults after 75 classes. Yeah. Then 125, 175, and 250. So at 250 classes, they're then eligible to sit their blue belt test, but not before. I don't care how talented you are, right? Generally, what will happen is if somebody's really dedicated, they can get their blue belt in a year. Yeah, if they're on the mat like 5 days a week and they're putting in the time, then it'll show. And they'll be able to bang out those classes really quickly, and they'll be dedicated. And because they're training so frequently, there's an add-on effect where they literally will get better. You know, it doesn't mean fighting a lot. It means mostly drilling. So if you put in your 10,000 hours in almost anything, then you will master whatever it is that you've done. There's no hiding around it. I've done a lot of research in the last couple of weeks about it. And almost without exception, in fact, without exception, they took a group of music students and divided them into 3 groups. The elite, yeah, who are going on to have solo careers and, you know, do their thing. And then good people, and then, you know, like average, right, who would go on to be like music teachers and things like this. And they looked at, they all start kind of around about their same age, 4, 5, 6 years old, and they asked them a very simple question like, how many hours have you practiced? And when they initially, you know, like when they first start, they're doing a couple of classes a week, a couple of sessions a week, you know, 3 sessions a week or something like that. And they're all pretty similar. There's no, you know, like there's a little bit of breakout talent, of course, you know. And I see exactly the same thing in jiu-jitsu. There's some kids who walk in and they're very physically confident. They've got athletic parents and they're very coordinated and things like this at like 4, 5, 6 years of age. And other kids, you know, are not like that. Yeah, like their bodies are a little ganglion, you know, it takes them a little while to get coordinated, and that's where like jiu-jitsu helps a lot, because it requires thinking of them and using their body in different ways. And what you find is after a couple of years, that disappears, or not even a year, is that the less coordinated kids start to become more coordinated, and what looked like a big disparity in ability and talent disappears. It wasn't talent, it was just a difference in physiology, right? And a difference in their experience. And so what they found is that over time, those who became amazing professionals simply put in more hours. They were doing, like initially they start off at like 3 sessions a week, so like 5-6 hours a week, and then going into their teens, they were hitting like 20 hours a week. Before they turned professional or whatever, then they're hitting like 30-40 hours a week. And there was no breakout talent. There was simply people who spent a lot more time doing what it was that they wanted to get good at, and those who put in less time. So those who were less good put in less time, and so on and so forth, right? So there's no hiding the fact that like hours on the mat equals ability. It's when I started, I was obsessed. I was doing 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, definitely. Saturdays, I'd go to like 2 p.m. from like 9, and then I'd go out for a run afterwards. So like, that's excluding physical training, right? That's literally just jiu-jitsu classes and a couple of Thai boxing classes thrown in, So, of course, won the nationals pretty comfortably every year because there was nobody doing what I was doing, and there are people out there who have significant physical advantage. I was a professional athlete before I started, right? So going in with physical, all the strength and fitness and flexibility and things like that will help to start with. And it's the same with aggression in boxing. If you're physically imposing and if you're very aggressive, for the first couple of years in boxing, you'll do very well because the majority of people are not like that. But what will happen over a couple of years after that is that everybody's physically fit and everybody has the same skills, and your aggression will matter less. So how people progress early doesn't dictate how they're going to progress in the long term. In fact, whatever physical attributes or aggression or whatever it is that they're bringing to the table, will level out over time as that person meets more people with more skills, right? So you can't hide your time on the mat. It's really, really simple. If you're training more, you're going to get better faster. On top of that, I would advise spending time almost every day watching jiu-jitsu, watching instructionals, right, of people similar to your coach, because I think that if you look too wide too early, if you start looking at berimbolos and all this sort of crazy bloody worm guard, lapel guard stuff and all these sorts of things, then you're diluting your focus on core movement. And I think that especially for the first, until black belt really, but definitely until purple belt, your focus should be on understanding basic movements to a high degree. So less stuff, but know more about it. Go very deep on doing simple things very well, rather than diluting your practice, and it's particularly in my mind because I found a couple of, one stripe white belts last night doing some sort of bizarre thing that they saw on the internet. And I'm like, guys, focus on what you're doing. It's too early for them to be branching out and looking at all this crazy stuff. And it's one of the downsides to the internet. When we started, we had like 30 techniques written on the wall, and that was it. We had, until our coach flew overseas and went to train with some gym or something like this, we were stuck with what we had. And so we would just drill relentlessly those basic techniques. And almost everybody that came out of that gym has got their black belt and has been very successful. And even when we had visiting black belts coming to see us in New Zealand in our little school in the middle of nowhere, they said the same thing, that, wow, you guys are really good. And then they saw our curriculum on the wall and there was nothing. There's literally 30 techniques. But they were crucial ones, you know, and we spent a lot of time drilling, and we spent a lot of time fighting. We spent a lot of time punching each other in the face, because there was really no competition jiu-jitsu at that stage. It was all about Vale Tudo training. We trained with headbutts, we trained with elbows, we didn't wear gloves, and we were fighting like that virtually every day. Yeah, we did a lot of gi stuff as well. We did a lot of gi stuff with striking. We did a lot of no gi stuff. We did a lot of no gi stuff with striking, and focused on doing basic things well. Anyway, I digress. There's no way of getting around your 10,000 hour rule. Whether you do those 10,000 hours quickly, yeah, like that would be better, but you can't afford, you know, like, so if you're an average student training 3 times a week and you want to get better, don't dick around during class, right? I constantly see white belts mucking around during their drilling and stuff like this, and they've only got an hour to practice. Yeah, so like, don't waste your training time. Yeah, socialize before, socialize afterwards, but when I'm showing a technique and you're drilling, drill it. Yeah, right? Focus on it, because you're paying for that. Yeah, don't complain in a month's time when you can't do the move, and you're like, oh, I don't get this, like it's not working for me. Well, guess what? It's most likely your fault. Yeah, so and put in time outside of class. Yeah, like, so whatever the technique is, I always have my videos on YouTube, for example. Whatever we're doing that week, I put it on YouTube if it's not there already. Then that way the guys before class can review it, and after class, like the next day, can look at it. Yeah, and so whatever our particular module is, which is usually like 5 techniques a month or 6 techniques a month, then like go deep into that. Yeah, rather than like look at 100 other different things that are unrelated to it. The best way to learn to swim is to swim, right? If you want to get really good at freestyle, do a lot of freestyle. Or get obsessed about freestyle. Don't go and do 5 other strokes. Yeah, do freestyle. If you want to get really good at breaststroke, do a lot of breaststroke. You'll find out a lot about it in a short period of time. Yeah, again, if you spread your attention wide, yeah, too wide, then sure, it'll like spark off all these curiosities in your brain, but as a beginner, that's not what you're after. Yeah, you want to get better, quicker, then focus and put in the time, and the hours on the mat don't lie. Yeah, if you want to get better, just put in the hours and be focused when you're doing it. Cheers, guys.